Burlesque by Kamari333. Chapter 33. By the Collar, Part 2. Dinner was, as usual, delicious. Lust didn't know what magic Red used to get the spices just right to match the sauce, again a ketchup base, likely to try and pacify Dance, not that Lust minded. But whatever it was, he thoroughly appreciated it. Dance was once again enchanted by the taste, like he always was. And judging by the pink that overtook Red's face, he could tell how much the both of them were enjoying his hard work. Dance refused to take off Red's coat, which he had left unattended in the bedroom before dinner, all night. After dinner, he flopped into Red's lap like Red was just another part of the couch, and made himself comfortable. Red, for his part, seemed perfectly content with the situation, curling one arm around Dance. Dance gripped onto his hand, making the motion look casual as anything, but Lust could see the tension, the desperation, in his trembling grip. Red's thumb smoothed over the back of Dance's metacarpals and phalanges idly, soothingly. Lust could see it, the silent conversation. "Are we okay? I'm sorry. I love you too." Lust might have been jealous, or perhaps it would have been better to say lonely, because he could never begrudge his datemates their moments of happiness together, if Dance and Red hadn't both gestured for him to come join them. Lust snuggled up into Red's side, sighing happily to himself as he felt Red's other arm curl around him protectively. Dance's free hand settled innocently on Lust's leg, squeezing gently. Lust was too comfortable, too satisfied and satiated to pay much attention to the TV. He must have fallen asleep, since he woke up in bed, sandwiched comfortably between his datemates, curled up in Dance's arm with Red at his back, the comforting weight of his scarred limb over his side. Lust discreetly fumbled for his phone, fully intending to flip the alarm off and text his brother a rain check on their lunch date. Red growled, sockets immediately opening even though the eyelight within was hazy and unfocused. Not truly awake, but aware and poised to snap to action at the slightest hint of distress. Lust cooed softly, rolling over enough to press a kiss to Red's chest. He kept his voice low, murmuring calmly to keep Red from having to wake for real. Lust got the feeling that Red didn't always have the luxury of a restful sleep. Seemed like it was always a struggle to get Red to settle down at night, although Lust seemed to manage it fine with a bit of tender love and care, and he wanted him to get as much of it now as he could possibly facilitate. Lust finally found his phone, pulling it down and flipping off the alarm before texting his brother an apology. He sighed, sliding it back onto its spot on the shelf before sinking back into his boyfriend's arms. Red made that soft, sleepy noise he made when he wasn't quite all there, before tugging Lust and Dance both closer and nuzzling into the top of Lust's skull. Dance let out a sharp breath, sockets wide and face a vibrant azure. That had happened the last time Dance had heard that noise too. Lust chuckled. Maybe a little jape wouldn't be too bad. Lust smiled mischievously, the only warning he deigned to give, before sliding his hand under Red's rumpled jersey and palming tenderly at his spine. The refreshing, soothing chill of Red's magic against the joints of his wrists was delightful, a definite bonus as Lust slowly stroked up and down Red's sweaty lumbar vertebrae. The soft grinding noise of bone against bone was soon overtaken by the low rumble that emanated from Red's chest. Lust let his own purring join Red's, turning back around to nuzzle into Dance's chest, reveling in the comfort of this perfect, sleepy morning where his lovers were holding him close. It was all he ever wanted. Red really needed a drink. He'd gotten to sleep in until noon. He'd woken up with both Lust and Dance in his arms, feeling strangely refreshed and relaxed. It was tempting to just lay there, basking in the calm and deciding not to question why Lust hadn't left yet to see his brother. His pets were sound asleep, sending out the occasional echo of contentment. He almost let himself drift back to sleep. There was something incredibly comfortable about having his pets there, safe and happy in his arms. But they were going to wake up eventually, and like hell he was letting his pets go hungry. Red pulled himself out of bed with a sigh, careful not to disturb the other two. He headed for the kitchen and started on omelets. It started out as a pretty decent morning, but fuck, Red needed a drink. It'd been too long. His hands were starting to shake when he wasn't paying attention. He'd been having more trouble falling asleep at night, and he knew Lust was starting to notice. On top of it, the nausea was finally hitting him, and Red could barely look at the food as he worked without feeling that uncomfortable lurch in his midriff. Like the fucking anxiety wasn't bad enough. Then he felt it. Dance's panic, and the sharp change as he shortcut from one place to another, cutting from the bedroom to the living room before finally coming into the kitchen. Red turned to look at him, his brow raised in confusion. What the fuck could he be panicking about? He was fine. Lust was fine. Nobody else was in the apartment. What's gotten into you, kitten? Have a nightmare or something? Dance stared at Red from the doorway, eyelights piercing. The echoes of his soul, a chaotic, unintelligible mess of alarm that was slowly fading into relief and frustration. He sauntered into the kitchen, grinning tightly up at Red. Heh. Just that singular, soft noise, the barest strangled imitation of a laugh. Dance looked around the kitchen, finding a bit of countertop space that was inexplicably unoccupied. He jumped up onto it, making himself comfortable. He looked so much smaller, with Red's coat draped over him. Red turned back to the stove, flipping the omelet. Lust wandered in a few moments later, rubbing his sockets. "Mornin'," he mumbled, stumbling over to Red and hugging him from behind. "Found you." Bonehead here forgot to let us know he was bacon. Dance hummed. Red felt his eyelight flicker, narrowing his sockets at his half-finished breakfast, like he wanted to at Dance. Don't even fucking start. But what's breakfast without a few puns peppered in? Dance asked. A nice un. Don't egg him on, sweetheart. Lust purred, and Red could feel his grin, the echo of amusement from both of them. Breakfast is ruined. You're both fucking impossible. Ought to beat you both with a bag of oranges. Sounds juicy. Red would have face-palmed if his hands weren't occupied. As it was, he turned to look at Dance's smug little face dead in the eyes. Your yolks are bad and you should feel bad. Red only said it to make his pets happy. Puns were stupid. But that sparkle in Dance's sockets, the softness of his easy, delighted smile, the warmth of Lust's weight on his back, somehow it made him need that drink a little bit less. Red was beginning to regret the bell idea. It only seemed to ring when Dance let it ring. And Dance only ever let it ring when he was making Lust scream, when they were both sending pulses of love and arousal, and Red could hear everything through the thin apartment walls. It got to the point that when he felt their usual lunchtime antics, he could hear the bell jingle in his head. It was on a usual boring Wednesday a few weeks later, a day both of his pets were working, and he was left to vegetate on the couch. He was flipping the channels, an out-of-season Christmas movie came on, and the jingle from the reindeer sound effects sent a surge of heat down his spine. His mind immediately flipped a switch to the enshrined memory of Dance's hungry gaze, of Lust's warm, talented hands, of those echoes of love and want. Red couldn't take it anymore. He threw his coat on, stuffed his squeaky sneakers on, and shortcut to the other side of town, stalking into Groby's casino. He ignored the surprised glances from the other patrons as he made his way to the bar, taking his usual seat like he had so many times before and smacking the bar top. Hit me with the usual. Grilby turned around to look Red up and down, stoic as usual, but Red could see the flicker of surprise in his face. Your usual has been nothing for a while now. Make with the booze, smartass, Red growled. Good shit. Grilby set the glass he had been cleaning down, pulled a bottle of bourbon down from the shelf, picking up a bottle of mustard, and mixing the former into the latter with a formal air of a disgusted customer servant. Red took it gratefully, chugging the nostalgic mixture as fast as he could manage. It burned the inside of his mouth like gasoline. Fuck, did he miss it. Fallen off the wagon, I see. Red slammed the bottle down. That's quitter talk. You had been quitting. Red scoffed, already feeling the comforting haze settle on his soul. Nah, just ain't had the chance to come by. Gotta change that. Been too long. Grobes, how's the family? He snatched the bottle of bourbon, starting to drink straight from it, knowing Grilby would put it on his tab like he always did. My family is fine. It is yours that worries me. Nah, boss is better than ever. Red finished the bottle, a groan of satisfaction following after the glass rim as he pulled it from his teeth. I meant your pets. Red waved him off, gesturing toward the whiskey sitting on the back shelf. They're fine. They're working today. Got 'em both collared now, so I know exactly where they are. And just like clockwork, he felt those pulses of love, of need, of desire and frustration and satisfaction. Red didn't wait for the bartender to hand him the drink, yanking the first bottle he could grasp in blue magic into his hand and sucking it down as quickly as possible. If he drank fast enough, maybe his magic wouldn't make him feel like a sweaty lava lamp someone left on too long. Grilby just shook his head, leaving to tend to another patron, letting Red have his way with his stock like he always did, the bleeding heart, and people called Red soft. Red waved him off, grinning confidently until his old friend was too far away to take notice. Then Red pulled his hood up, grinding his teeth. That stupid fucking bell noise played softly in his skull, Lust's voice, Dance's piercing eyelights. It's fine. It doesn't matter. As long as they're safe and happy, it doesn't fucking matter. He could feel it now. They were in that coffee shop, the one on the good side of town, the mom and pop place run by those colorful humans with the nose rings and ear gauges. Public and had steady foot traffic, so probably locked themselves in the single bathroom with no windows. Red had stalked out the place when he realized how regularly they went there for lunch. He could visualize it far too vividly. The grainy, stylized dark wood door, the brass doorknob that jiggled easily as Lust was pinned against it, shaking and panting. Dance's sharp, steely eyelights reflected off the decorative crystal hanging from the ceiling as he... Red shoved that thought, along with the now useless empty bottle, to the side, jumping the bar to snag another bottle at random. He popped it open, taking a swig, and realizing too late it was a shitty B-tier wine that Grilby kept to foist on idiots and cheapskates. The dull taste and gentler burn reminded Red of a night at a different bar, of show tunes and shitty puns, and that was enough wine. Red corked the bottle, shoving it back in place and pulling down 2 containers of malt liquor. He didn't even give a shit about the taste now. He just wanted to drown in something that would numb him in a way his LV couldn't. He wasn't going to let himself ruin this. He finally had what he wanted. He wasn't going to chase them away by being a needy, useless piece of shit. Red sat at the bar top, working through these bottles a bit more slowly, his previous drinks catching up with him. He ignored the disappointed look from the elemental checking in on him every few minutes. Red finished off the bottles. Was that 3? 4? Did that swig of that cheap red wine count? Nah, that shit couldn't even get him buzzed. Fuck that. And was just about to order another when he felt it, an echo of panic in stereo. Lust and Dance were home, but they were terrified. Red launched himself off the stool, ignoring how the world seemed to tilt as he punched the bathroom door open. He took 2 more steps, and then he was home, bone construct at the ready, snarling in outrage. How fucking dare someone have the balls to threaten his pets in their own home? He was gonna rip them to shreds and vaporize those pieces and then throw whatever charred dust was left to the fucking void. Relief hit him from 2 fronts. Red, thanks stars, I was just about to call. Lust wheezed, throwing himself into Red's chest. Red stabilized him with his free hand, still scanning the apartment looking for the threat. His vision blurred at the edges, but he blinked it away. Everything seemed to be just the way he left it, no trace of an intruder. The lock on the door hadn't been tampered with. The bit of tape he'd put on the edge of the door was undisturbed, meaning nobody had come in through the front door. Sure, that still didn't rule out a ghost, but it did rule out just about everything else except space-time manipulating skeletons, of which there were few and far between. Where were ya? Dance asked, voice calm. Just, out? Red grumbled, lowering his weapon, letting it dissolve in his hand. Heh. That single, forced bastardization of a laugh. You left without a word or a note or a text? Heh. Dance rubbed his teeth like he was trying to wipe away some unsavory taste from his mouth. Then he looked Red dead in the eyes. Don't do that. Red stared at Dance, hard, trying to puzzle out what he was seeing. Dance was borderline hostile in his posture, defensive, still radiating that steady echoes of frustration, now overlaid with the more recent, evanescent relief and indignation. Without looking, Red wrapped his now weaponless hand around Lust, idly rubbing his parietal, temporal, and mandible with his blunted knuckles. Lust's pulses of alarm were fading into contented ease. Were you? No way in hell they were worried about him. Probably just scared because he wasn't here to protect them. Yeah, that makes more sense. Red chuckled. This is alright, kitten. See what happened? You got upset and I came running. That's what's gonna happen. Ain't gonna let nothing get ya. I wasn't worried about anything getting us, you bonehead. Are you drunk? Nah. Buzzed, maybe. Red hadn't had nearly enough to get himself actually drunk. Or at least not the level of blackout, shit-faced wasted that Red considered deserving of the name. Drunk was when he stopped being able to feel feelings, and he could definitely feel some feelings right about now. Not just Dance's and Lust's either. He was feeling a few things about seeing them like this, agitated and slowly calming down just because he showed up, like his very presence made a difference. He was feeling a lot of feelings about that. Shit, he really was going soft. Yes, you are. I'm fine. Dance waved at the couch. Sit him down before he hurts himself. I'm fine, Red said again, but he could only be amused at how the two of them seemed to fret. He'd fought in turf wars more inebriated than this. He was fine. He let Lust guide him to the couch anyway, letting him choose which one to sit on. Why were there 2 couches? Did they bring a second one home? It was sweet, nice, that they cared, or were pretending to care. Hard to tell. Their affection for each other was rather pervasive and constant, drowning out most other things in the pulsations of their soul that their bonds could handle sending him. Red saw no reason to deny humoring them. Dance came back with a cup of some liquid. Red couldn't tell for certain what, since it was a pastel-colored plastic cup, and a hand towel. He set the towel on the table as realization and another bout of concern hit him. Is that tooth brass? Red had to process that question for a moment. Dance's train of thought clicked after a few seconds, and Red snickered. Nah, solid gold. What, you think I'd poison myself? Red was a science teacher, for fuck's sake. He knew what copper and alcohol did together. No thanks. Good, Dance said, handing him the cup. Red only sniffed it once to determine it was water, then downed it in one go. So where did you go? Lust asked from his spot, snuggled under Red's arm at his side, and god damn did he fit just right, warm and safe and his. Girlbies, had a few drinks. You tried to tell me you weren't drunk, Dance started. Ain't never said I didn't drink, though. Red corrected him, smirking. There's a difference, kitten. Semantics, and you're drunk. Just a bit buzzed. Ain't hammered yet. You're not nailed yet, either. Dance muttered, bitter, snatching up the towel as he sat down in Red's lap, facing the TV. What? 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 Lust giggled, amused and compassionate. He leaned in, gripping Dance's collar for stability as he pressed a kiss to the side of Dance's skull, eyelids glimmering playfully. Yeah, baby, what was that? The little bell pealed softly from Lust's jarring motions. Red felt that soft heat flood up and down his spine, half to light up his face, the other to pool in his pelvis like magma. Dance stiffened, embarrassed and even more frustrated. Nothing. Lust hummed, eyeing Red with a thoughtful expression before nuzzling Red's side affectionately. I suppose it would be better to wait until later anyway. What? We'll talk when you're not buzzed. Dance hissed at him, angrily wringing out the hand towel like it was a neck he was trying to strangle. Anything that might have resembled excitement in Red was quickly smothered out, suffocated by Dance's mounting irritation that Red could only interpret as disappointment in him. Shit. Dance whipped around. Stop that. Just because I'm mad doesn't mean I'm mad at you. Red didn't flinch. He didn't. But his vision fuzzed out for a moment and he had to blink the spots away. I wasn't thinking... You lying ass! Dance, baby, we talked about this. Gently. He took hold of the arm Red had around his shoulder, turning it to press a kiss to Red's palm, as if to demonstrate the concept of gentle. Red couldn't quite stifle the appreciative noise that bubbled up from his ribs at the attention. Talk about what? Despite everything, Red was starting to become concerned. This kind of conspiratorial behavior was alarming. It implied he actually came up in conversation when they were alone with each other, like he was a topic they talked about. Why the hell would he even come up? Did they have a complaint? No, he'd done everything he was supposed to. Food, safe haven, scared off any predators. What could he have missed? Dance made a frustrated noise, raising himself up on his knees, straddling Red's leg, just the one of Dance's patella pressed right against Red's pelvis through his shorts. Red placed the hand not in Lust's possession at Dance's back, steadying him so he wouldn't fall over. Dance gripped Red's skull by his parietal, as far away from Red's collar as he could manage, using a firm, comforting... Why was that comforting? Maybe Red actually was drunk. That shouldn't feel as nice as it did. A silent command for Red to hold still. Then, with a surge of confidence and want and love, Dance leaned forward, and Red watched him get closer and closer, until Dance's teeth were pressed against his own, and his frontal bone rested against Red's, bringing their nasal apertures so close they were sharing the same breath. Red could taste it, the experience of petrichor in ocean winds and mercurial water. What the fuck? Was he having some kind of fever dream, or... A twin echo of satisfaction reached Red. Lust nuzzled into Red's palm, purring softly. Dance let his sockets drift shut, careful not to lean in too close, wary of Red's collar, no doubt, yet still pressing forward insistently, possessively. Oh. Red was in trouble now. He was in big, big trouble. Double trouble. And he didn't give a damn. He shifted his hand up from Dance's spine to settle on the back of his neck and skull, making little encouraging circular motions with his thumb as he grinned into the kiss. He could get used to this. Hey guys, Mel here. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed it, please like this video, and if you want to see more, consider subscribing. I look forward to bringing you the next chapter. Bye!